Well, friends, welcome to another episode of the What Shapes Us podcast. I am your host, Selema Masekela. This podcast, as you know, I talk to very interesting people about the intersection of the incidents and the accidents that have shaped them into being. And today's guest, he's really literally like the definition of what Shapes Us podcast is all about. Because if you looked up the word the phrase perpetual reinvention in the dictionary, this dude's face would pop up. Legendary professional snowboarder, two-time Olympian, musician, artist, futurist, DJ, dope thinker, cultural intersector, many, many things. Now, father, and somebody who I just admire a whole lot. Ladies and gentlemen,
bro.
Welcome to the podcast, Trevor Andrew.
What an intro. Thanks, man.
You good with that?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, man. I like to do the intro in front of guests because I really feel like sometimes people don't hear the hallmark card of their accomplishments and present all at once.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome, man.
Cool.
Thank you for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
I mean, I sent Trevor literally a text last week and said, hey, I want to do this thing with you. And you said, let me see if I get a babysitter.
I pulled it off.
Which I think is really great for people who, like, you know, you have a mystical and very interesting public persona as the artist, GucciGhost, as Trouble, the musician, and as Trevor Andrew, the legendary, as I mentioned, not just Olympic snowboarder, but huge contributor to the forward movement of snowboarding culture as an athlete with legendary video parks, etc. Like, what an interesting intersection it is. But I think when people think of you, they don't think of like, well, this dude has to see if he can get a babysitter, so if he can come and sit down and have the conversation.
Yeah, I pulled it off. I'm happy to be here, man. And geez, that's really nice to hear all those things.
When you hear that all in one sentence, you know, when you look back at the last 30 plus years, what goes through your mind? What were you thinking of? Because I saw out of the corner of your eye, like your face going like, whoa.
I did that. Man, I guess it's just like time is so interesting. And I think, number one, it's just really nice to hear. It's like, I just, we deal with our day-to-day life and as we move forward, and sometimes it's not that I've totally forgotten. I think I kind of poke my head into all those zones once in a while, but I guess maybe I see them sometimes as like, they're all separate things, but they are very much a part of me. And I think even just at different times in my life, I remember even when I was first doing music, like kind of shying away from even telling anybody about my snowboard career, and then even when I was doing the fine art and design stuff, it was like I kind of stopped doing the music stuff because I was like, but it actually is just all me. And it's nice to hear you say that. And I guess where I'm at now, it's like I'm settling into that idea that it's just, this is just all me, and it's just a journey, and it's like all of it I got to be proud of, and I've learned so much through every one of those pockets of my life,
Mm.
And
I appreciate you saying that, because you are the source material of all those things. But when you're dealing with public perception and you're trying to craft something that is for you, but eventually is going to be consumed by others, and you can't define how they receive it,
right,
it messes with your head.
yeah,
I was thinking about it on the drive over here in relation to your snowboard life, and even, let's say, music and art. You have the luxury when you're filming a video part, after you've broken yourself 1,000 times to stack the clips,
yeah,
to sit in the edit and be extremely particular
Yeah.
about which trick and which grab and why, and you can sort of craft as best as you can, like, okay, now it's ready.
Yeah.
And I think I know how the community is gonna perceive this relative to like the rules of engagement of like how the grab's supposed to be held and where I grabbed and how big the trick was, etc. But when you get into music and art, like you don't have that luxury anymore.
Yeah, and unless you're in the studio making an album and then you get to like tailor it and then present it, it's kind of the same thing. It's like same with art shows. It's like the difference between putting out an album and getting on stage and doing a show, you know, like or like live painting or something and doing an art show, or like there's definitely like those different moments. I definitely love to be able to curate and present something that I've really worked hard at, that I feel like is my best work, and put it out there. I mean, everybody does, you know, that's why we love Instagram,
Right.
you know? It's like so easy to just show what you want to show, and it's like not a constant live version of yourself. But you know, I think like all of those moments of really like working towards my best version of myself in whatever arena that I'm in is like, yeah, helped shape who I am.
And you did have an element of not being able to necessarily control the thing when you were a competitor.
For sure. Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. That's a great example.
Because
Yeah.
as a competitor, when they call
It's
your name
live.
out and it's time to drop in and take your run,
Yeah.
like there's no. I'd like to start back up at the top.
Hold on. My bad. Let me start over. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great example for sure. And I think that definitely like gave me a lot of confidence in these other spaces. I remember even when I first started doing music and art. I mean, I feel like I've been doing that stuff my whole life, but really kind of taking it serious, like feeling like, wow, this is easy, you know, because like there wasn't the physical demanding like part of it, and like the part where you really can get hurt. And it was like, I think that part of it, whether it was in the contest or even in the backcountry filming, I think like just that mental exercise of like really having to visualize and believe in the outcome that you want. Like you have to visualize making that, because like if you don't, you could really get up. You know what I mean? And so
Stakes is high.
exactly. So I think when it came to art and stuff, it's a little different. It's more like your ego and all these things that can get really hurt, but you're not gonna, there's not like the physical part of it. So I think like just the exercise of visualizing and believing has helped me in every aspect of my life. Just believing in it and seeing it before I've even done it. And I think like a lot of the stuff like with my career that I've done, even like GucciGhost, that was like a practice of like seeing something, believing in it so much where others couldn't, to the point where it actually happened, you know? And I think that snowboarding was like the first exercise like that for me, because yeah, I guess it was the same thing. A lot of people around, I had enough people around that believed in me, but not everybody could see it. My teachers and others couldn't, you know, and it's like hard, especially when you're a young guy trying to do it, when there's elders and stuff telling you like, no, you can't do that, you
Mm.
know? So I guess I've applied that, and I'm trying to share that with my children now too, is just how to visualize and believe in whatever it is that your heart is really pulling you towards, you know?
That's really powerful. I want to come back to that thematic part of visualizing and belief, especially as it applied to Gucci Ghost. But I want to go back to the kid from Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Hmm. Falmouth, but
Falmouth.
Halifax was the home city for sure.
Halifax adjacent. No
Yeah.
offense to any of the Nova Scotians.
Like, he was from Falmouth.
when I finally do make it out there, because there's really good surf there,
Yeah.
and I get invited all the time. in
Yeah,
the
you get
summertime when you get the really good hurricanes that move up the coast from off in the Caribbean. It gets really good in Nova Scotia.
yeah.
So when I go there, I don't want them to be like, nah, you called out Halifax and not you can't come here. I first met you, for context of the audience, when you were about 16, I think.
Mhm.
I don't remember when the first time was, but the distinct memory I have in kicking it with you was at Mouse's house
Uh-huh.
uh, in Encinitas, California, in like 1997.
Yeah.
Mouse, Jamie Mossberg, incredible photographer and filmer who made some really groundbreaking independent films. One of the big ones, 1999. But you were filming with him before that,
Yeah.
and you were riding for Airwalk. My good friend Tim Swart,
Spy, actually.
Spy. You
Yeah.
weren't on Airwalk.
I
It was
wasn't, but
Spy.
he was
It was
do
post.
yeah.
It was right. It was
Yeah.
post Airwalk.
Mhm.
Tim had went to Spy because I met Tim when he was at Airwalk,
Yeah.
and he said, "Hey, we're going over to Mouse's for a barbecue. Trevor Andrew's coming." And I remember being like, "Oh, I love that kid. Like he's got dope style." You were like skinny in all arms and legs at the time, but you had a definitive like presence to you that was bigger than where you came from. I didn't know anything about Nova Scotia, but I was like, this kid's different. But what was really interesting, and I still remember to this day, was that your mom had sent out on dry ice lobsters.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nova Scotia, a big thing of like if Yeti existed today, it would be like it'd be a big Yeti cooler
Yeah.
of lobster from Nova Scotia on dry ice
Yeah.
for the barbecue.
Shout out to Carol.
Yeah, Carol. And I was like, this kid's cool. His mom sent lobster from across the country from like their bespoke lobster
Uh-huh.
to travel with him to California.
She was looking out because, I mean, at that time, I left home so early, and folks like Mouse really took me in. And so, yeah, she was just giving back and saying thanks. You know what I mean? And she really, I think the amount of freedom she gave me as a child and trust in the guys that I was around is just incredible. Now, especially as a parent looking back at that, it's like I was gone. I left home at like really started going on my first trips at like 12 with guys that were like 19, 20. And she also, by the time I was like 14, 15, I was like gone. I quit school and just dipped out. But she she always had older guys like staying at the house, like renting a room. And there was just in my town growing up, it wasn't really like skateboarding and snowboarding and things like that wasn't really a thing like in that space. It was just real country, and like you were either like a jock or like anyway, I just happened to have these like skater dudes, punk rockers that were like living at the house. I had one friend, John Swinemer, that lived up the street. He was like kind of the only skater ripper that was in town. And these guys, like another guy that lived in the house, Greg Blemmings, and Jeremy, these guys like put me on to so much. Like, and she just really just opened the doors for people. And those people like changed my life, and just exposed me to cool music that I would have never discovered, took me to skate contests. Um, and she just let me go with them. I was just going on road trips to like Montreal and then sometimes getting dropped off and like hitchhiking and like, dude, it was crazy. But she trusted in them, and she was right. She felt it. I think she could just feel how much they cared for me and what they saw in me, and she just allowed them to take me out. And Mouse was one of those guys, that just was one of the first people that took me under his wing to be like, yo, let's go film, and we're gonna go to Sweden. We're gonna go to we're gonna go to BC. You're gonna stay on Kevin Young's couch, and you're gonna come hit the backcountry and you're gonna ride this snowmobile, and like just
And you're a teenager.
yeah, I was young. I was really young. I remember like those first backcountry trips with those guys, like being like shook, like on a snowmobile, like having to like throw it, or it was like throwing me around, and like, and seeing real shit go down back there
Yeah.
too. So it was big, big life lessons, and a huge amount of freedom. But I feel like I was pretty, as much as like the crew that I was rolling with at sometimes were pretty wild. Like I, people looked out, and I looked out for myself because I really valued that amount of freedom, and I valued getting out. And no disrespect to Nova Scotia, I love Nova Scotia, but at that time as a kid in school, I just didn't feel like I belonged there. I just didn't feel like I fit in, and I was like, I didn't have a good relationship with my teachers. It's another, like, I hear people talk about school, and even my kids, like, they love school. I hated school. It was like painful for me. And so when I had an opportunity to like get out and do something that I really like loved doing, I really took it seriously and went for it and went as hard as I possibly could for it to keep it, because I didn't want to go back to this uncertain life. It just seemed, as I was doing what I was doing, this is it. Like, and I guess I've kind of just been doing that every time, just finding new ways of discovering that like flame or that desire or passion to like do something obsessively, and I just
Mm.
follow that.
Do something obsessively. I think that when I listen to you tell that story, like for the conventional mind, you know, there's certainty within the parameters of school and a home. But what you describe is like finding a certainty in the like depth of uncertainty of like
Yeah.
this this culture that it didn't exist yet.
Yeah. No, it
Like I
didn't.
always try to explain to the kids, to the younglings now,
Yeah.
before we came on air, I made Trevor aware that he, like me, is also Unk now. And
Yeah.
it's just got to
Old head convention.
old head convention. But I try to explain sometimes to kids like you fell in love with a thing, no one cared. The only people who cared about the thing were us
Yeah.
that were doing it.
Totally.
And the fact that you were making like life choices around this style of play that didn't involve a team, there was no factual information that you could get you anything
Yeah.
in life. And these were the choices you were making was like insane. Like I remember even graduating high school, and a couple years out of high school, 2/3 of the kids that I surfed and snowboarded with were not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
And they were coming back from college being like, what's your life? I was working at the bank and like cleaning offices at night and doing as much as I could to shred. And they
Yeah.
thought, they were like, can't believe you're still doing this, bro.
Yeah.
Like they had learned from their parents that there was a certainty in going to school and getting structure, and that's where your safety lied.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I'd like really have a lot of respect for my mom, because I can't imagine like the feedback she was getting from other parents, teachers, and stuff
Where's
like,
your son?
what? You're letting him do that? There's no, you can't even have a career doing that. Like
Mm.
I remember somebody saying that, and being like, but she just saw that I was happy doing it. So she believed in it, and allowed me to believe in it instead of discouraging me out of it, which I think a lot of people do. And it's kind of been my mission to try to give people that encouragement too, because I try to share that because I see so many people that are so talented that just don't believe in it. I'm like, you're better, like you're so much better. Like you can do this, but because they've just been so deeply conditioned to believe that like, no, that's like so unrealistic. But I'm like, damn, if it makes you happy and it's not something that's like hurting you and you really love it, because I see that you love it, then you should do it. You know what I mean? Like, and yeah, I guess that it is very much, I've signed up for a life of just being like kind of irrational and just But I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm irrational about all the things that really, like, that I feel that I love. I'm like, I have to do this. I'm going to commit to this and I'm going to go hard for this because I feel it. And I'm not afraid for what is the long term or like what's going to be. I'm just like, this is it. And I'm also very aware of like my mortality. You know what I mean? So it's
Mm,
like, that's what allows me to just dive in. I'm like, this is the moment, man. We got to do it. We got to be happy. I don't want to be. I see a lot of people that are also following these paths of whatever their parents or teachers or whatever laid out for them. And ultimately they're unhappy. Not everybody, but I have some people that that I've interacted with that are friends and that I'm like, damn, I know when you're happy. I know when you're really happy. And
mm,
this idea of being safe that somebody's told you about is not making you happy.
yeah.
Like,
It's a false sense of safety. It's someone else's safety
yeah,
that
exactly.
you are in service to, and you don't find that out a lot of times
Yeah,
until it's too late.
exactly.
Your career, like you talk about it from this perspective of like being that 12, 14-year-old kid, people obviously noticing that you were doing something different, taking you along with the big kids. You make some really early impact in the magazines as well in some video parts. And you easily could have like that could have just been the world you stayed in, but something drove you towards. I've always wondered like what drove the then competitive fire for you, because you weren't remotely like of the snowboard jock thing, but you were like, I could. It seemed like you were like, I can make this look cool in my way. I'm gonna do my thing, but I can compete.
Yeah. I think yeah, the competing was just really a means to get out and get exposure and like kind of get that yeah, people to notice, you know? And I loved it. And I think that there was a certain point of the competing though that just like I kind of got burnt out on and I felt like I wasn't progressing. I was just like do it like going contest to contest and was like I wasn't learning tricks. I was just going to the next one and doing that McTwist and just it was just kind
Iconic McTwists. If we're
of
gonna let me just say, not just a McTwist, an iconic
thank
McTwist.
you. But yeah, I wanted to take it further and I felt like the guys that I was around were yeah, they were starting to go into the backcountry and obviously at that time the movies were like becoming a really big thing and it kind of always
Huge.
had been a big thing.
But then
That's
all of a sudden there was like big budgets and
exactly.
they were feature films.
Exactly. So like that was the moment I feel like in snowboarding where I'm like the most proud of what I achieved was just having the ability to go out there with the crew, really work towards like, you know, getting a great day, building something and throwing down and or even like building something for a whole day and then going back to that and just really having the space and time to like sit there and visualize and do what it is that I imagined. And it was okay to fall and up. It wasn't like I had to do this routine. It was just like I could experiment and expand. And so that really inspired me. And the backcountry was such a great place to do that. Just is just like really being creative with what you see and how you imagine yourself getting down the mountain um and yeah and pushing it and going big, you know, and like so that really was like a space that I think I achieved the most. I think the competing was something that was a necessary action that I had to take and it was something that I was into at the time, but it was just to like really get me to that next spot where I could like really discover how far I could push myself and push the sport, you know?
I imagine that there's two different types of fears. Like you went to the first Olympics that snowboarding was in,
Yeah.
representing Canada as
Yeah.
an Olympian in 1998 at
Yeah.
Nagano.
Yeah, that was a crazy time.
which was an insane time.
Yeah.
Like the amount of, which you probably did not realize at the time when you were signing up for it, but just the depth of controversy around the idea of snowboarding going to the Olympics, like,
Yeah.
within the culture. What was that like in the midst of all that? Like, and also like, I was just hanging out with skate dudes like 6 or 7 years ago in Nova Scotia, like investigating this thing. Now I'm an Olympian.
Yeah, it was crazy because I actually didn't understand what it was. And I kind of almost carried over a little bit of that, like, I don't really like the US Open's what I really want to get. Or like, I kind of felt that, like, of course, because we all looked up to Terrier and like, but it was something where I was like, this is an opportunity to just keep this going, keep the competing and get more like highlighted as a snowboarder. And so I went for it. And it was kind of a trip. Like both times that I went was interesting and very like it was very much like I got to see other athletes and like how they lived their lives and how they really like trained they were so serious about it. And we were like kind of obviously like smoking pot and like and just kind of not taking it as serious. But when I did go to the first opening ceremony, it was like I felt it and I felt the other
And
athletes
you're in the gear and
yeah, looking super goofy and like but it was a moment where I felt it because I felt the energy of everyone and I was like, "Oh, shit, we're like actually like representing our country. We're not
This is
representing ourselves."
yeah.
Like cuz that's all it ever was with this. It's like it was just always so individual, and like but it was and then it kind of became a bit of I did feel the pressure at that point, like realizing like, damn, this is for real. And also feeling like I could win this. I didn't, but I can't I was like I'm pretty sure I came like almost like
29th.
yeah, exactly. Like
The first
last
time.
place.
I didn't want to say that. This is my job.
Yeah.
But 29th in Nagano, then
I
you
remember-
went back in Utah.
Yeah, I remember going home just feeling so like, oh God. They had like a welcome home Trevor sign in my hometown.
Oh, no.
I was just like, just forget about me. Just like let me go hide for a little bit.
But people were proud of you.
People were proud of me, and that also let me know like, what it meant for other people and for us just to go there and represent the country and represent, my hometown and things like that.
And you
So-
went back 4 years later and you got yourself a ninth
I did. Yeah.
in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Yep. Yeah. I remember like
And that pipe was
yeah, that was a crazy time. I remember, yeah, like at the top, hanging with Michael Chuck and just
shout out to Michael Chuck.
yeah, shout out to Michael Chuck.
To this day, I do believe that super pipes exist because of people like Michael Chuck, where they're just like, we can't contain this dude.
Yeah, and really he needs more props. Like I feel like he definitely was such a innovator and just he was such a cowboy, He's just
I've traced back the whole double cork thing. Like I tell people all the time,
doing
like,
doubles and triples.
yeah,
like,
bro, this dude was doing this on archaic equipment.
Yeah.
In a thing that you shouldn't, landing in the flats and just
Yeah.
like muscling it out.
Yeah, and smoking cigs at the top before he dropped in. Like it's crazy.
What was it like standing up there with him in Utah?
Utah was cool. That was a little more relaxed for me because I actually didn't. I earned some spots for the team that year, but then because of some like weird, how you got to earn the points
Yeah.
to earn spots for your team, and like I earned some spots. I qualified, but then they changed some date or something of like when my points were valid, and then they were like, no, you actually didn't make the team. So and then I sat out. And there was they sent the team and then I got a call from the coach and I remember like not smoking pot for like 2 months and him being like, yo, did you smoke pot? Like Daniel got injured. Can you get down here? And I was like, I can't believe I didn't smoke pot. It was crazy because at that time I was just riding powder and chilling. And I was like, I'll smoke a joint when I'm on the couch, like
recovery.
watching it,
Yeah.
But then I got that call and
Man,
I'm making myself sound like a real pothead. I don't even really smoke like that, but
you were in
but
your,
at that
in that time. It was the time. What do you mean?
But anyway, yeah. So I went.
Weird if you didn't then.
Yeah. So I actually held out because I was like, I had this feeling about it, like
You might get the call.
I might get the call.
The discipline, the focus,
the visualization.
The visualization. You it comes back to the visualization again. Like you easily could have just been in your chill life.
Yeah, and I would have been like, sorry, I did.
Yeah.
I've been riding powder for the last 2 months. But no, I didn't. I held out and I went. And so I had a different feeling about it. I actually was more fun. And it's funny, like when I do think about that day, like I actually had a really good day. I was second going into the finals, and then I just kind of like washed out on my last trick. And I remember feeling like I should have went harder on that last one. I saw it and I almost like hesitate. I hesitated. And so it's like one of those things I sit with. But it was cool. That one was more fun for me. It was definitely chill, and I was hanging with Michael Chuck, and it was like sunny day, and I felt like it was all like kind of cherry on top for me because I wasn't really supposed to be there. So just to get to go again and to have some good runs and be a part of that time was cool.
Iconic, my guy.
Thank you, man.
Weren't supposed to be, and also clearly you wholly were, and you did the most with it. My favorite thing in this part of your journey has been watching your return to snowboarding, to sort of like your love of snowboarding.
Yeah.
And finding a new love of snowboarding and doing so with your kids.
Oh, it's the best.
Because I feel like your kids towed you back into the thing, and then within sharing it with them, you're in this like super stoked out version.
Oh, for sure.
Like the most stoked out version of you, the snowboarder.
Definitely. Sharing it with the kids has been the best, man. I was just like the road trips, the seeing them. Like last season was the first time that as a family, like us on the mountain, we all rode down together. And that was like a fucking dream, because there was times before, I love every moment of it, but there was times where I'd be like holding both of them, like riding down my twins, like, because my oldest, Rad, he could just, he obviously got it first. He's been doing it longer, but like.
How old is he?
He just turned 11.
Right.
And my twins are 7. So, when they were 5 or whatever, and we're up on Mammoth and take a wrong turn or something, that's like, oh, and there's like tears, and I'm like holding that, like I was doing like I did have some of those, like those dad strength moments where I was like, how am I doing this? I'm like riding down the mountain, like holding my kids with their boards on. But no, the trips with the kids, sharing snowboarding with the kids is snowboarding for me now. Like I haven't even been riding this season without my kids. That's how I've been doing. And it's been beautiful, man. It's like, it's really a time where we get to just tap in those nice road trips or going back to Canada, and like they really connect with it. And just, it's just like the time that those missions, you know what I mean? Just being up there, and like, I just love it. It's probably, yeah, it's the most favorite thing that I do, and my most proud accomplishment is like just being a dad and being able to share whatever I can with them that has made me happy. And obviously I don't force it on them. It's funny, my oldest is like fully like taking a turn from, like, he used to be like skater, like now he's like full on basketball. I know nothing about basketball, but I'm learning through him. I'm actually going to a Clippers game tomorrow night. But
you're in the right house. I am a Clipper fan.
Are you?
I'm
okay.
25-year Clipper Nation.
So
mediocrity at its finest.
See, I know
a good season.
I know nothing about it, but Like, even the first game I ever went to, was with my oldest son, and I was walking down towards the court, and it was, before the game started, and all the guys were out there in, like, their sweatsuits and
Yeah. The
and
warm-ups.
and in my head, I was walking down, I was like, "Oh, that's crazy. They let people go out on the court and just shoot before the game?" I didn't even know. Dad's like, "No," or Rad's like, "Dad, that's LeBron." And but yeah, so he's out and I like now I'm out there like throwing the ball to him, like trying to help him. And I'm like, Corey, he's like, Dad, like literally last night, he's like, you got to get better at passing, man. Like, but I'm like, no, I got to throw you these bad passes because it's like how I grew up on the icy hill.
Right.
I got better. So I'm going to throw you the bad passes and you're going to have to move quicker and it's going to be better.
Right. So then when you get like someone who throws you a good pass, you're like, you can do that in your sleep.
Exactly. It's like, but yeah, the kids bring me so much joy and purpose. And I had an art show this weekend at the design space for just across the street here.
I was out of town. Thank you for the invite, though.
Yeah, no doubt. But just to bring them to that and like see them, like I had a TV that was playing some footage on repeat of like me creating the series that I was showing, and which started back in like 2017, 18. And like through those years, I kind of capture footage in the garage and around. And of course, they're in it around me painting and like wearing the cowboy boots that are in the show and in the video. And they're just like to see them experience what I do, but also to see how important they are to me in that process and just how like it was just really it's kind of like riding down the mountain together. It's really nice.
That is beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Listen, this this has been a truly. I knew this would be a good conversation, but this is beyond, and we could go another 3 hours. Um, I just really take away from your journey the strength and the resonance of belief.
Yeah. Yeah, we gotta believe, man.
And it's very easy to be discouraged, by so many different factors that are taking place in life
Oh,
and the
for
world,
sure.
etc. And I think, especially in these times, it's like the most valuable currency that you can have is, for me, that you described, is this idea of being able to lose track of time.
Yeah.
Like, that's being a billionaire. Like, can you lose in this wild world? If you can find the space to lose track of time in pursuance of creating or making anything, that's like, you're literally describing like a method of self-care.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just finding enjoyment and fun and that's what I'm just in a constant search of and you know, and like obviously like kids in my life bring that they remind me of those moments too because of course you're going back you're digging into these fun things and you're sharing you're seeing the excitement and like yeah, that's all I'm searching for is just the fun and the excitement. And of course, yeah, we get into moments where you do get down or you get discouraged and then it's like so great. It's so important to find the people that like help you believe in yourself too, you know? It's like
Mm.
can say it really easily about like, believing and visualizing, but of course, I've had great people around me that have helped that. And of course, the people that I love deeply too, not everybody's always going to see your vision, you know? It's just so you have to like really like try to anchor yourself in that idea of like the love of something and how you just enjoy what it is you're doing or what that's all I can really that's the only roadmap I have. I don't really, and it would probably seem it seems scary, I guess, if I was to really think about what am I actually doing in the future, and like I am semi visualizing that, but I'm also trying to just right now be aware that this is it. This is what we got. So like, am I having fun right now? You know? And if I'm bummed out, then I need to be finding a new space for myself, you know? And but there's nothing wrong with a little boredom as well. I definitely have found some, and to be honest, I found great moments in some of my most painful moments. I found some of my best creative self in that too,
Yeah.
you know? And like, and I think that part is about just letting go and accepting. Because if you're like fighting it so hard, it's so hard to like have a great outcome from that. It's I find like the most painful things that I've experienced or hardest challenges I've faced, I've just accepted them and been like, okay. And then like all of a sudden I've made like some crazy piece of art out of it, or like it's led me to this other thing. And I just accept that it will, because it's the natural balance of life. And we've got to feel a bit of that too. But don't like dive into that and like hang on to it. Just like accept it and let it kind of flow.
That expression, resistance is futile, did not come out of thin air.
Right.
It did not come out of thin air. The amount of energy that you expend either trying to fight something off or to hold on to it, like to grip to
Yeah.
the point where you're like you're stuck in that
Yeah.
position. Uh,
It's not
is
gonna
so
work.
much better than just like letting even the worst that happens, like letting it wash over you.
Pain is temporary.
And it also ends up being like a weird superpower on the
Yeah,
back end.
definitely.
You got to go through that to get there, and I salute you for the manner in which you've been able to do so. And now that Rad is playing basketball and has you all balled out, like I'm just like I'm beginning the countdown today on this show for the GucciGhost NBA collab, and when that pops off,
It's crazy. Somebody just asked me that yesterday. Would you be into doing an NBA thing? I was like, you know what? I'm actually learning a lot about this right
it's
now.
no, bro. There's no doubt in my mind that it happens. Just hit me up so that I can get a direct line into early purchase, because I feel like it happened here on the show. So
I got you.
my guy, it is it makes me, you talk about you said earlier appreciating your mortality. We are lucky to 30 years later be able to sit here
Yep.
and have this conversation. Neither one of us could have even begun to imagine our respective paths that would allow us to be able to sit here
Yeah.
and talk like this.
Yeah.
And it just makes me happy to still be here, especially in the midst of, a lot of loss.
Yeah.
Last time I saw you, we were saying goodbye to our good friend, Dingo.
Yep.
And this shit is beautifully temporary.
Yeah.
So what a gift. And I really, really thank you, man, for
Oh, dude.
coming through.
I love you, man.
Yeah, I love you
Thank
too.